All right. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us again for the Tipples Wine of the Week tasting Tuesday nights with Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre, coming live from Gainesville, Florida. Right?
Yep.
Of course, when everyone watches this later, it won't be live, but that's okay. So this week, we are heading to Washington. A little different region in Washington than we've been to before, a little bit different, to drink Cabernet Sauvignon by Owen Roe from the Yakima Valley in Washington. So if you've not already done so, it's time to pop that bottle open, pour yourself a glass of delicious. There you go.
Thank you.
Give you a good hard pour, let it wake up that wine. Spin. All right. So if you guys, what I do is I give it about 30 minutes of a chill to take it down to around 60 degrees. I like it to approach European cellar temperature to start. It's not going to stay there, and it really doesn't matter in the end. It's going to warm up to your room temperature anyway, but I like it. I like to start out there and kind of see what it's expressing at what was kind of the original intended temperature.
So the original intended temperature is cellar temperature.
Right.
I'm assuming that they're European cellar
Right.
temperature.
Mhm.
Their room temperature is not what ours is, or is it? Because we all have air conditioning. So
Right. Yeah, it's probably really close.
So
Right.
they're experiencing that same evolution of taste that we are then.
Oh yeah.
Unless they're sitting in the cellar drinking it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, maybe if you're in, if you're in Sweden,
Okay.
you're probably not getting the exact same thing. But I just like to give it a little bit of that light chill, and then it'll go up from there. So, all right, let's go to the first slide, please.
Okay. Where do you have it?
Well, so probably here.
Okay. Maybe. Oh, bear with us just a moment. We're going to check something out first. I did hand it to you, but then you signed in. So,
Right.
so that had to be showing. All right. So you're going to see a little bit behind the scenes for just a moment. Don't look at the left-hand side and cheat at all. No, I know.
Okay, so the Owen Roe Yakima Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. Nice ratings on this guy. James 92, Jeb Dunn 92. So pretty good, pretty nice consistency on there. It's a tight cluster of ratings. Food pairings in this guy. Spicy saffron. With saffron couscous, hanger steak with asparagus salad, or grilled eggplant. So yes, it's a cab, but it has a little bit more. It's not as big and burly as a lot of cabs. There's a little more elegance to it, which allows you to get that tuna steak in there, that kind of a thing. Grilled eggplant without trouncing all over it. So, all right.
Do you do like grilled mushrooms and stuff too? Okay.
Absolutely. I just try to change things up. So every time we drink cab, I don't write steak and grilled mushrooms,
No, it's good.
You'll see it like the recommendation for next week. I'm getting more and more out there, where people are gonna be like, dude, no one's making that.
Yeah.
But it would work.
Have we had ostrich steaks on here before? Like, have we?
I think I did several times,
Okay.
but it's probably been about a year since I put one on there.
Okay.
So probably time for ostrich steaks again. Ostrich steaks would work great, just so you know.
Okay.
There you
Should I advance or stop?
go.
No.
Stop, please.
Okay, stop.
I was drinking.
Well, I said advance or stop, and you're like, no.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So this guy's 100% cab. Nothing blended in with it. Alcohol content 14.1, very precise. Aged 20 months in French oak. Only 14% of that oak was new.
Okay.
So what's that going to tell us about this, right? And we've talked about this a little bit. Did you want me to ask the question or just ask and answer it?
I mean, you can see if they can answer it.
All right, so only 14% is new oak. So what are we thinking? And it's French oak. So what is that telling you guys? What do you think? You don't have to tell us, but
I mean, if you want to, you can answer.
but I know you've heard this. So French oak, not as intense flavors provided, right? So tighter cellular structure. It doesn't put as much vanilla. So, it'll give you some. It's more of kind of tames the tannins, rounds things out, and adds a nice spiciness. That tends to be what French oak does mostly. And now new oak versus old oak. We have only 14% new oak. So that new oak is going to be active and actually manipulating what the wine's flavor is going to taste like. But the rest of it is not. So once again, we're dealing with what I would call a minimally oaked Cabernet Sauvignon. So what they really want you to taste here, and you'll hear this echoed again from the winemaker, is they want you to taste the cab as the region makes it. They want you to get a sense of place from this, not just covered up with a bunch of vanilla.
And it picks up that terroir, so it expresses the region?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Linda said it's not a vanilla bomb.
Very true, exactly.
Because it doesn't have that newer oak then.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it has some, but only
Right.
14%.
Exactly. And it really isn't. I've got a nice spice coming off of here.
Yeah.
On my palate, I've got, as much as I have beautiful red fruits, and I'm not even going as much, which you can get with cab, but not as much black fruit, very red flavorings, right? Red cherry, plum, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe a little raspberry on this guy, which is interesting for cab because cab can become very dark and rich as well. But it's a little cooler area and it really shows through. High mineral content in there. So, and I think there's a bit of a
Pepperiness.
certainly good call, pepperiness and baking spice. And then I would go with the earthiness on this guy is more minerality, more of a graphite. So that's that pencil shaving kind of thing, which I'm getting more on the palate than on the nose.
For sure. And then Linda said a little chocolate. Say like baker's chocolate.
And there is the effect of that light oaking.
Okay.
All right. So it's taking that minerality and that fruit, and when it mellows it a little bit, we're not going all the way to vanilla, but we're getting of that baker's chocolate. Totally yes. So, so this guy went through the oaking. This is made when they do their vintage of Cabernet Sauvignon in each year. They grab the best barrels, and that becomes the Yakima blend.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So this is actually the 35 best barrels.
Wow.
They tasted through and they become these.
It's only
this wine.
35 barrels.
It's only 35 barrels.
Wow, that's a small production.
Small production, really nice winemaker. It has absolute hands-on on this guy. No, kind of not a big corporate creation here. Aging potential actually was given to me on the description from the winemaker. Says drink now through 2027, so 10 years.
Okay.
Right? It's a 17.
Yeah.
Right. So this guy's a 10-year-old over there, which we'll go through the label in a second anyway. So
we're right in the sweet spot in the middle.
Yep.
We're not quite to the, like, when they say 10 years, is the peak at 10 years, or are you really thinking it's 8, but it could go to more years? Or
if they tell me 10, I'm thinking 8 to 12.
Okay.
As the range.
And then 12 is drink it now.
Drink it.
Okay.
Drink it.
Okay.
Right. Oh, that's right. And I thought their description was really good. I was trying to reach into that other red fruit, pomegranate. Right. And I was like, oh yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
Right.
I could do that.
Baking spices, graphite, black chocolate, pomegranate. I think as it opens up, we might get a little bit of licorice going on in there, a little anise quality, but that's part of that spice. I would go, they call it licorice. I'm not anticipating that as much that as anise, because there's a slight difference. So this is a little bit cooler, like I mentioned, a little cooler growth, and that shows that bright redness in the fruit means more acidity is in the wine, right? And so that acid tartness equals freshness, and it's going to take these, instead of dealing with like blackberries and blueberries and those old, black plum, which I've had in Cab, right? I've had it in Washington, in fact, and I like it, but this guy is not that guy. It's a little different. This is a little bit more to me of an old world driven style,
Okay.
and really good for exactly those pairings we were talking about, where lighter red savory meats, but not as fatty, not as huge, right? So I think, like, as I'm thinking about like a big tuna steak would be amazing.
Yeah.
A swordfish steak even,
Mhm.
which is interesting. You do like a swordfish steak with like an Oscar on top, you know, with that,
Oh, yeah.
the spinach
Mhm.
cream sauce. And
Could you do shark?
yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
I think so. What's interesting is you're like, wait, we're talking about a cab here, but yeah,
Yeah.
this guy's its own thing. It's a different expression of cab. All right, let's head over to the slides, or actually, if anyone has any comments they want to share about now. I've kind of covered what I was thinking. Linda shared some, Elizabeth has. Anyone else have any thoughts about your initial impressions as we're moving into the wine?
Well, we've been playing around with some pairings. Is that coming through or is it garbling?
No, we can hear you.
We got you, Jason.
So we did some chow.
Oh, now you
Wow.
froze.
Which
Oh,
It was going great.
yeah, it was
until-
great until you started talking about what it is you paired it with.
It's perfect time.
Then it.
I'm sorry.
we're gonna dial in with our.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So when you're in with your phone, then just raise your hand and let us know when you're ready to talk.
All right.
Share?
Let's head over. Share, please.
Okay.
All right, so let's go over the label real quick, right? So here we have Owen Roe right there. That is the winery. Yakima Valley tells you where it's from. You know, and I kind of like that when you're looking and say Yakima Valley. It's kind of very specific. So that to me points up, right?
Right.
Cabernet Sauvignon, you can see that on there very clearly. And let's go over here. So on the back, we've got the vintage, produced and bottled by Owen Roe, right? So it does not say estate.
Right.
So he didn't grow it,
Mm-hmm.
but he did make all the wine, you know, did produce this, did
And it's all
vent
from
this
that
wine.
valley.
Right. And it's all from there. And so that's where they're located. Got the alcohol on there. They give you a little history on there about the Yakima Valley, which is really great. And a little bit of information about, you know, the picture on the front of the label, which I think it's all fun. So I'm reading this, I'm saying, okay, well, I know that this producer has, you know, they've made it themselves. They didn't just buy some juice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from this specifically within Washington, within the Columbia Valley. It's in the Yakima Valley. So I'm feeling pretty good about my chances on this guy if I know nothing else about this
Sure.
wine. And Paul's got his hands up.
Yes.
Her hand.
Yeah. He has his virtual hand and his real hand. He had both up.
And it looked like he was applauding in sign language.
You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I know I've got to do it both ways because I apparently don't have it right in the good HDMI one. Yeah, so the picture there, is that a different vintage? Because I've got some hills and valleys or something, and that looks like a old
Oh, no.
So
building
the
or something.
picture is different. Yeah,
Yeah.
the picture is different from the
Right.
bottle that we all have.
Okay.
Yeah. So, right. My bottle looks like your bottle. That picture is an older vintage.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. And so they're changing the pictures from around that region and then
Mhm.
giving you a description with each vintage. Which,
Yeah, I thought maybe I got the Jerry bottle that was like, 19% or
Oh,
whatever.
right.
yeah, right.
He was hoping he got a 19% bottle.
Yeah,
Because
right.
I was-
Good question. All right.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Moving on. All right. So our good friend, Mr. Cabernet Sauvignon, right? So origin is in France, Southwest France, so down in the Bordeaux region. It is a cross between Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. So it is a cross between a red and a white grape, but it is more intensely red than the parent grape, Cabernet Franc. So somehow crossing the red and the white made it even darker than the parent red. It is the most popular red grape grown in the world. So,
I find that the picture
mhm.
is more transparent than my wine.
And I would say that this is not a particularly intensely colored one.
Mhm.
So I would agree with that. But there could be a lot going on with that,
Okay.
from different regions. I mean, certainly, if we were in Australia, you wouldn't see through it at all.
Okay, so the picture's not, I mean, it's representative of some cabs.
Right. And,
Mhm.
and the general color profile
Mhm.
is correct. It's just a little darker. I agree. Next slide, please. And then you can see the grapes, which, they're red wine grapes. They all
Well,
kind of look
but
alike.
it's interesting because you showed before, like we compared the bunches,
Mhm.
and this one's more of a vertical bunch.
It's true. The bunches do have a different shape.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
So, common flavors: black cherry, black currant. So that's basically
Mhm.
really dark grapey. Cedar, which I'm not getting as much with this. Spices, yes. Graphite, yes. So this guy's got, some yes, some no. Is it dry? Yes. Is it full bodied? Yes. Though I would give it a 3/4 full on this. It's not as heavy bodied as they can get. Medium high tannins. This guy's a medium. All right. It's down a little bit. Medium acidity. This guy is a medium, maybe medium plus.
Mhm.
So it's a unique expression, which is one of the reasons I thought it would be fun. And alcohol content 13.5 to 15. We're at 14.1. We're right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So next one, please. I used this last week, but I just love this graphic. Another amazing creation from Wine Folly. Cabernet Franc, the Mac Daddy. So Cab Franc, and here you have in there, has Cab Franc crossing with Sauvignon Blanc, making Cabernet Sauvignon. He also made Carmenere and Merlot. So Cab Franc is he's a badass, or she's a badass, whichever way you want to go.
So these are the only only. There are 4 different grapes that they blended with Cab Franc, but these are the only iterations of it: Merlot, Carmenere, Cab Sauv, and I don't even know what that last one
That
is.
other one I've literally never seen except for in this thing.
Okay.
So it's very obscure. Yeah.
Okay,
So you're saying that these are the ones that come off of Cab Franc?
right.
Right. The only other one that is related, like
Mhm.
as a cousin,
Mhm.
is Malbec.
Okay,
Malbec shares the Magdalene Noir
Mhm.
with Merlot. So it's
Oh,
Magdalene Noir
okay.
and another grape created Malbec.
okay.
So not related to Cab Franc,
No,
but like a cousin, it's
well,
over there. with
like a
one-
cousin by marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
I
But it's,
mean,
yeah, because
yeah.
it's a cousin related to the lady that married your uncle.
Yeah,
or
well,
something.
there you go.
Yeah, there you
Something
go.
like that.
Something like that. So, anyway,
Ready?
so yes.
Okay. No, I do find it interesting. Hold on, before we move on, just
Okay.
because I find the graphic interesting. I like the graphic, but I do find it interesting that all of the red wine grapes are represented by really a shade of blue.
Mhm.
And then you've got a white wine
Right.
shade of yellow, and then purple because they have no idea what
Right.
it was.
Purple is the color of enigma.
No, well, I'm wondering, I think it's because they're like, we don't know if it was white or if it was red.
I think that makes sense,
And so
yeah.
there, we're just going to choose something kind
Yeah.
of neutral. Yeah.
Right. And you like that color blue looks almost exactly like
Like
the
the
color
actual
blue
grape.
on the grape. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and we did talk about this where, with the one grape that was black skinned and red fleshed.
Oh,
which
right.
is
That was
unusual.
very unusual.
Every single thing we saw on that page
Mhm.
is black skinned, white fleshed,
That's right.
because almost all red wine grapes are.
Do you see
So,
the chat?
No, let's
Linda
see.
Rocafort, there's something about this wine that reminds me of the Canary Islands, Tinto de Oro.
Interesting. Well, let's see. That guy's medium bodied, red fruited with a little bit of acidity. So I get all that. And now that one has some intense pepperiness, but this does have a modest pepperiness.
I
So
mean,
overall, I can see exactly. I can see what she's saying. I get it, Linda.
does it have the graphite element to it as well? I don't remember it
Mm,
because I
it
don't.
would,
Okay.
yes,
Mhm.
because it's on a volcanic island,
Mhm.
and we're dealing with a volcanic area.
So it would
So,
have that.
It could have that too, which could be
Mhm.
what Linda's picking up on, is
Mhm.
she can taste volcanic wine.
There you go.
That's how advanced you are now, Linda. I think it's kind of badass. All right. So Southwestern France, you know, here we are. So the origin and the crossbreed were around here. Obviously, it's used tremendously in Bordeaux
Mhm.
as a dominant grape in the blending, or there's, depending on which bank of the river you're on, it may be Merlot dominant and then Cab, or Cab and then Merlot. But either way, it's very, very popular there. And that's where it was used first.
Mhm.
And it was, you know, and the French, especially in Bordeaux, believe in blending the grapes.
Right.
But then, you know, the Americans started doing single varietal work with it, and it's gone on. The rest is history because it's super popular both ways now. So wine plantings around the world. I thought this might be fun to go into. So Cabernet Sauvignon is the most planted red grape in the world. You see that 713,000 acres. Merlot is number 2.
Yeah, I'm surprised how close they are.
The much
actually.
maligned Merlot.
Is it blended a lot? Is that? or-
Because of, I think largely it's because of Bordeaux in
Okay.
France. Yeah. I mean, obviously we grow Merlot here, you know, a lot, and it's used in almost every red blend, you know, so it is even in, you know, in the United States and such, you do a Bordeaux red blend, it's got Merlot in it almost always. So
I'm
for
just-
that reason, it follows closely.
It's, I mean, it's
And
really
yeah.
not that, I mean, obviously it's like 50,000 plus acres difference, but I mean, considering the whole world and,
Right.
you know, that's
Yeah.
like 8%.
Well, and this is showing, this would be a bigger spread. This is showing of all the grapes in the world. So it is literally not just the most planted red grape. It is
Mhm.
the most planted grape
Okay.
in the world. And then there's the one where you're like, well, what's the Aaron grape? What is that? When are we going to drink that? That is the grape used to make brandy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they make wine and then they
So
distill it.
You never drink it
You-
as a wine.
Yeah, rarely. I had
Okay.
one in the store for a
Really?
while. It was fascinating.
It was fascinating, meaning it's cool to try it. Maybe you don't want to revisit it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was very interesting, you
Okay,
know, and
all right.
I'm glad I drank it.
Yeah,
It wasn't
sure.
interesting like, yeah, right. You know, it was,
Okay.
but it was interesting. But when am I going to get back to that wine? It's not going to be anytime soon, you know.
Okay.
It's cool though. It was fun. So anyway, I thought this was a fun graphic,
Yeah.
you know, Chardonnay, Syrah, because Syrah, don't forget, you're combining Syrah, Shiraz.
Right.
Um,
Grenache, Grenache.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there is so much other.
Right?
6.6 million
Wasn't that
acres
interesting?
Other.
I was looking like vineyard plantings. I'm thinking, is that other including non-wine
Well, that's what I was
grapes?
wondering.
That's what I'm
Mhm.
thinking for it to add up to that much. Because I agreed. I thought, I think that graphic is including non-wine grape vineyard plantings.
Right.
To get to be that much.
Yeah.
I think it
That's-
has to be. Right?
Yeah, you should contact Wine Folly and ask them, what's up with this graphic? What's in the other?
Yeah. Oh, look, somebody asked what Aaron is. and
Yeah,
There we go.
it was almost simultaneous with you.
Well,
talking
you know
about it.
what,
Mhm.
Linda, I see you. Okay. All right. So where is Cabernet Sauvignon planted dominantly? Right. So France, number 1.
Makes sense.
Chile outdoes the United States.
I was surprised at that. I thought
Right?
it'd be France, USA.
I really, really did too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was surprised by that as
Mhm.
well. I thought, what on earth? What you doing?
Yeah.
Who are you? So that was very interesting.
Mhm.
Then Australia, I get that. Spain, but Spain is interesting,
Yeah, with Cab,
right? Because you're like, okay,
isn't
where's
Tempranillo
the
their
cab?
number one?
Tempranillo, Grenache.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, they've got a lot of things that they're famous for. You know, like, but none of it's cab, so it's
Right,
definitely
but
being
that's-
blended in.
Yeah,
and
that's a
it's
lot,
some large
though.
amount.
It's, since it's the 5th
Yeah. Mhm.
one in line there with
Right.
how
Then
many
you have
acres are
China,
dedicated to it. Yeah,
which China actually has.
but it's supposed to have good wine, but it doesn't come out of there, right?
It has a lot of bad wine,
Okay.
and it has
Well.
some good wine.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the wine,
Mm-hmm.
and it was legitimately tasty, but it was very expensive
Oh, okay.
for the flavor profile, right?
Okay.
And so that was why in the end, I didn't bring it in, because I thought it would be fun for everyone,
Mhm.
but I didn't, you know,
Right.
I didn't want everyone spending $35 on something I thought that was a $20 quality of
No,
wine.
I agree with you. And the thing is, I think most people too, it'd be one thing for the WOW group, but for most people, when you're thinking wine, you're not really thinking China.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
No, it would have definitely been for us to explore it and say
Right.
we had it, that
Right.
kind of thing.
because all of the other places, you know, Europe, obviously, Australia,
Mhm.
South America, South Africa, all of those places, yep, wine,
Yeah, no
cool.
problem. Yep.
You know, but
Yeah.
China, we don't think of that because there isn't enough importing from there,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It's
So
a
we haven't
small amount for
experienced it,
alcohol.
right.
Obviously, we've got a ton of importing from China to the country. but we'll get
Yes,
that.
I meant wine.
Yeah, this is
You
not
know,
enough.
you know, this is about wine tonight, right? Like, we're not talking pencils or other stuff.
Are you sure?
Yep,
Okay.
it's just
All
wine.
right. I'm going to stick to wine. Then.
Okay,
All right.
yep.
Probably for the best.
If you could
It's
just
what I prepared
stay
for.
on point.
Yeah.
Would you
Hmm.
like for me to advance?
Yes, please.
Okay,
All right. So what are we talking about tonight? So
wine.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
We just
We just
discussed that.
discussed. Wrangle me back in as many times as
There you
is
go.
necessary. So a little thicker skin
Mhm.
and certainly a lot of intensity in the outer peripheral zone right under the skin. The intermediate zone, often with Cab, plays a smaller role, significantly smaller.
Mhm.
It is a smaller role in this one as well, but bigger than we often drink out of Cab because there's a little cooler growth on this Cab.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a really bizarre question.
Hmm?
All right, what would happen if, let's say, you would never do this because first of all, it would be pointless and also it would be so time intensive. But let's say you just took all the skins, not any of the other. What would that, like, what would you be tasting if it was just the skins?
Well, there would be a lot of astringency,
Okay,
you know, if you didn't dilute that down. Plus,
Mhm.
what are you gonna, you gotta dilute them in something so you can drink it because the skins don't have any juice in
well,
them.
they have a little bit.
Not enough to really do much. you know.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be. just a
okay, so you
pile of
have a large amount of skins, you get a shot of it. What's it gonna taste like?
unbelievably intense.
Okay.
And really astringent. Yeah, it's kind of like when, if people are not careful when they're making
Mhm.
wine
Mhm.
and you just use say you were to use a robotic compression and just crush those grapes
Okay, rather than just press it.
rather than
Yeah.
pressing gently.
Mhm.
Why do they press gently? They talk about this often. Oh, gently pressed, gently pressed. Why? You don't want to crack the seed.
Yeah.
How many of you guys have ever eaten grapes with seeds in them and bitten down on the seed?
Yeah.
Very unpleasant, right?
Mhm.
Very unpleasant. Same thing with wine grapes. And so they don't want to crack those seeds open because that astringent, and actually it's tannin. So here we are, we're like, we like some tannin. We like the tannin from the skin,
Mhm.
but that tannin in the seed is nasty.
Okay, so I have another bizarre question then.
Okay.
Okay, we eat seedless grapes,
Yes.
right? I mean, obviously I've had seeded grapes, but we eat
Right.
seedless grapes. Have they ever made a seedless wine grape? Because they're not growing from seeds, they're growing off the vine.
True. I don't believe so.
Okay.
And here would be my guess as to why.
Mhm.
I think they'd be terrified of messing up the flavor.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think they're afraid to touch it. They want to go to these classic, you know, because they talk about, oh, this is clone 682 from Bordeaux, because they want it to be as unchanged as possible to these
Okay.
classic ones.
So there are no new wine grape hybrids that anyone is creating because they want to.
No,
Keep it.
not none. I mean,
Okay.
we had the Marcelon that was made in 1961. Remember Uruguayan?
I do. That's 61 years ago. I mean, it's not hundreds of years ago, but it's
No,
not
that's
7 years
the most
ago.
recent one I know. of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But they have done it, right?
Okay.
It is a thing.
We have some, people are congratulating me on asking those questions. See, I ask the questions you guys are afraid to ask.
Now I hear I write the songs in my head. All
You
right.
ready?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Growing wine latitude.
Mhm.
All right. So here we are up in Washington, way up here. So we're in the upper third,
Mhm.
right? Maybe upper quarter.
Looks like they're.
But I say upper third of the current growing northern hemisphere latitudes for wine growing.
Mhm.
So, but well in the parameters.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, as the song says, changes in latitudes
Okay.
changes in
Jeff
attitudes.
loves that song.
Nothing remains quite the same.
So he wants, this is leading into.
This
his
is leading into
next-
something. This is actually better than you.
I actually did see this because I was changing the font on some slides and then I was, yeah.
I found.
Please don't encourage the singing.
That'll be at the end.
Yeah.
I can sing. You can sing too.
No,
We're going to sing it together.
Yeah, we're
We have
not going
good
to sing
voices.
it right now.
All right. So I found a graphic today that I thought was really interesting and I wanted to share it with you guys. When in regard to, as we talk, we kind of hit it time and again, just in a, almost glossing over, just a quick little statement about
Glossing over climate change and
Right.
existential threats.
it. How far are we going to go? This
Yep.
is supposed to be fun.
Okay.
So I've found a graphic today showing the expected change in wine growing latitudes
Mhm.
over time with climate change. So let's go to that.
And so just a little caveat before we change. Everything you see was everything on the graphic. We understand there's a huge part of the map that is cut off. It wasn't Jeff.
No, it wasn't.
So here we go.
Right. All right. So here it is.
There we go.
So there's the original and there's where they expect it to go.
Now and then
Yeah.
or down,
So
depending on
so
which hemisphere you're looking at.
what Elizabeth was talking about is that for some reason they chose not to include the western
It's
coast of the United States.
pretty big
I don't
part.
know why, but we can imagine
I
where.
think we just figured out why Putin has taken Ukraine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
right.
you go. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what I find interesting is look at Japan.
That's what I was just looking at. Japan
Japan is no wine and it becomes wine.
completely wine.
soup to nuts.
Immediately with the first time it moves. So the only other thing that I wish that this graphic showed was when this was happening. Like
Right.
what years are they predicting? And I understand it's speeding up, so maybe that's why they didn't.
Right.
But it's very interesting there. It's interesting too, if you look at that, the bottom of South America right now has no wine growth. And it goes to that the entire tip.
Oh,
Is why-
right.
Because
Yeah,
South
it's too cold down
Africa
there.
is
Right.
already growing wine. It's still growing wine. The area has decreased, but
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you look at Canada could become and will, I'm almost sure, become a major wine growing region.
Sure, sure.
And so I think we need to head up there, eh?
I will visit you.
It's the wine rush north to Canada. Yeah, no, I get that. But I mean, luckily it's still.
You want to read the chat.
Oh,
if you're
okay.
going to comment on
Oh,
it.
no, not my Shiraz. Yeah. I get it. Like you got the region in Australia, but there's still enough of it that is going to be fine
Okay,
because of the coastal, it's largely coastal influenced,
okay.
which will help hold off that heat a lot, but it will concentrate around the coast.
I mean,
But
that's
then
the
you look in-
populations it's all around the coast anyway. It's not
Right.
in the interior. of
But here's the
Australia.
thing. Think about if you're a winemaker in Spain. Look at that.
Oh, wow. Or Portugal.
Because they're already dealing with
Italy,
Yeah. That
completely out of Italy.
I don't know how far that's going in there because that is a
I would love
when you
to-
look there, all of a sudden
Right.
it becomes
to
terrible.
know what the year projections are.
Yeah.
Oh, does any Russian grape exist? They're too busy making vodka, but
Right. No, it does. They do. You know what's interesting is not part of Russia, but over in those areas, Georgia, the country of Georgia.
so former Soviet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the first real wine production areas in the world. They have some of the oldest grapes that were ever cultivated.
Huh.
Amazing, fascinating wines. I would love to go there, but not right now.
Maybe, yeah.
And
Maybe-
drink their
maybe
wines because a
we'll-
lot of
we'll-
they're largely not distributed to the U.S.
Okay.
So Linda has a question.
Yep. And then Paul also said he's advising everyone to buy up the land that's in Canada, maybe?
Yeah, going to New Brunswick.
Yep. Okay. And Linda, what's your question?
No, well, I feel almost silly asking, but looking at the graphics, so would the wine varietal or the grape type differ?
Yes.
So I think about reds and whites, so.
Yes, you're 100% right. That's what a lot of what they're doing. They added 15 new grapes that are allowed to be grown in Bordeaux. This in 2021, if I remember correctly.
So that they can adjust with the climate.
Right. And one of them was Tempranillo.
Really?
Yes.
That's surprising.
So yes, a way that they're battling against this to keep those regions producing is to change the varietals they're growing.
Is Tempranillo, I know they grow it in Spain. Is it also a Spanish grape? Did it originate there?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is that, has France adopted other foreign grapes? I'm just wondering because, you know, the French tend to be, especially with their wine.
Yeah, right. And let me think here. I know Cab is them. Cab Franc is them. Cabernet is them. Merlot is them. Syrah is them. Sauv Blanc is them.
We can go back to the French map if you want to.
Chenin Blanc is them. I know I'm just, maybe this is really bad television
Maybe
right
there's
now, but
something else.
yeah, I
but-
can't think of.
So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
almost scandalous that they
Oh,
are
definitely.
adopting a, okay.
Definitely.
All right. And especially to me, I mean, it's a Spanish grape. It's not an Italian grape, which I think is the most contemporary, like the old,
Right.
when I think of old world, I mean, obviously
there are
Spain
s-
is old world,
yeah.
but
Right.
France and Italy.
Right. You know
with
what
wine.
the other one I can think of,
Mhm.
and it's contentious,
Okay.
is Mourvedre,
Okay.
because they call it Monastrell
Mm-hmm.
in Spain, and Spain claims, no, this is ours.
Mm-hmm.
And France is like, no, Mourvedre, you know, if it's from
So they have a battle
the
over that
Rhone.
one.
But I read the information and I believe Spain has a better claim.
Okay. Well, there you go. You heard it here.
There you go. Jeff said it, so it must be so.
Yep.
All
There
right.
you go. Ready?
Yes. Well, that slide seemed to go over pretty well. A lot
It
of good
did.
questions.
Well, I did say to him as I was adjusting the font, I'm like, I wish I hadn't seen this already because normally I don't see the slides ahead of time. So,
All right, so here we are, USA wine regions, right? So you can see there's a smattering running across the country of wine growing areas.
that Tallahassee wine, I'm telling you.
Oh, I'm all about it.
Why doesn't it have Lakeland marked?
Why? Yeah, right. We do grow it down
We
in
have a
Lakeland.
winery in
They need to
Lakeland.
get representation. So here we have, so Napa Valley, remember that, like, we're talking about, these are not all AVAs, they're just
Mhm.
wine growing regions, right? But Napa Valley was the second American viticultural
Mhm.
area of specific quality viticulture. And who remembers where the first AVA was for wine growing grapes in the United States? Oh, just,
You can,
should I say shout it out or throw it in the thing?
okay, wait, let's see. It'll be a battle of who can raise their hand first.
Yeah, right.
Virtually.
Virtually.
Yeah.
Oh, virtually.
Virtually raise your hand first. Let's
Oh,
see.
with the thing.
Okay, Linda, Brennan, Laura.
All right.
Missouri. Missouri.
Missouri.
Yep.
Oh.
Even
Cool.
said it like
Hey,
a native, Missouri.
right. Bonus points. What area of Missouri?
Ooh, does anybody know that one?
I wouldn't expect it.
I knew Missouri. That was it.
What's the question?
Here's a hint. It's the same name as a decent sized city in Georgia,
Atlanta.
Augusta.
Okay,
Yeah. So
I lived in Augusta.
Yeah.
And they talked about Missouri at the beer festival,
ah,
about the wine growing region in Missouri. There you go.
you know what? Missouri famous.
Yep.
I have a plan.
Was that the with this map again? You just wanted to revisit? the
Oh, no,
Missouri
I mean,
was the-
here we are. We're up. We're
I was like,
drinking from
Are we
here.
gonna talk about Washington?
No, all right, here's Washington. This is the Columbia Valley, which includes the Yakima on the western edge, and we are drinking from there. Let's go in. Here it is. We're not in Walla Walla.
Didn't we have a wine from Walla Walla or
We
not?
did. Oh,
Okay.
you know what? Here's a fun thing. Not about this wine exactly. So last time we had a Washington State cab
Mhm.
was last year on this exact same Tuesday.
Really?
I had no idea. I looked it up. That was when we had the Lea Collet,
Okay.
Lea Collet. Anyway, number 41 cab. That was from Walla Walla. Right. And so I was grabbing some of the graphics because, look, Why
Hey,
recreate the wheel?
exactly.
So, and I grabbed it and I realized, so we're on the 29th. It was the 30th.
So it is the same.
It's the
Tuesday.
same
Mhm.
Tuesday of the year,
That's very cool.
Washington State Cab specifically.
Evidently, this is when you think of drinking a Washington State Cab.
You know what? I think this should be Washington State Cab Day.
There you go. All right, next year will be the 28th. So we're in Yakima.
Yakima.
Where, which part of that?
Well, it has a couple of subsections like here and here.
Well, because
so
I know
we're
they're-
kind of
they're-
spread from this area through the
Okay.
center there.
Because they're
'Cause
getting
it's
grapes from the whole, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, it's kind of all over the place,
Mhm.
but these guys that you get Horsehaven Hills and you get a couple of little subsections that are really expensive.
Okay.
And it's not that they wouldn't include that quality because they do have that quality grape
Mm-hmm.
in here, but if you have that in there, you tend to concentrate only from there, so you can charge even more.
Oh, okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I know there's some of that in here. So, all right. So let's all learn about Yakima. All right. It's a high desert area, kind of like Mendoza, Argentina, that we were just talking about,
Mhm.
right? It's in a rain shadow from the Cascade Mountains. So irrigation's absolutely required because there's just not enough water to actually grow wine grapes.
There's such large stones there. I mean,
Right?
yeah.
Well,
Usually
it's
we
funny you
s-
say that.
It looks like it's almost all stones and not any dirt. I mean, obviously there's some dirt, but yeah.
Right. So not this wine, but there's a very expensive wine in the store called Caillou,
Mm-hmm.
Cailloux, right?
Mhm.
That means stones in
Okay.
French.
Mm-hmm.
And he found these on a section, and he was a French trained winemaker,
Mhm.
and that's why he chose to grow his wines there because of the Cailloux.
Oh, look, it's all rocks. That's where I'll grow wine grapes.
Exactly. These grapes are going to be so unhappy.
Yeah. They're gonna make the best wine.
They're going to make
grapes.
awesome wine.
Yep.
So it's about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than the rest
Okay.
of, and it does have a very distinctive quality to
Mhm.
it because of that. That red fruit explosion is very distinctive, very different
Because of the cool.
because of the cool.
Okay.
That, and these things at 5 to 10 degrees. That's when we talk about climate change, and you're like, oh, it's going to change 3 degrees, whatever.
Right.
This is an entirely different expression of Cabernet
Sure.
Sauvignon than the one that we had from Le Collet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, about 1,300 feet above sea level.
Okay.
First grapes were planted here in 1869.
Wow.
So the soil is silt, which is largely sand made from quartz,
Okay.
and then the rocks. And then the other one is loam, which is more of a clay and some organic matter in there. So you can see the redness in there.
Yeah.
So they're both adding minerality from two sides. They drain very quickly.
Okay.
A little bit of organic content from the loam,
Mhm.
but not a ton of it. So it's a combination of, because this is river, next to the river and between the mountains. So you're dealing with mountainside erosion
Mhm.
and the river flowing, down as well to deposit this material. Right? Here's
That
a
looks like a
beautiful picture,
postcard.
right? It's
Mhm.
gorgeous.
And also the background in the mountains it looks like a painting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a beautiful shot.
Mm-hmm.
That is from Shaw Vineyards, not from, not from Owen Roe.
But it's Yakima Valley
But it
as
is
well.
Yakima Valley.
Okay.
And I gave them credit later, but I thought of it even now. But gorgeous shot.
Yeah.
We have to drink some of their stuff too.
Mhm.
All right, next. All right, so this is the Owen Roe Winery. It's kind of like this kind of modernized barn look,
Yeah.
right?
it's
And
very
lavender all around there.
good. Does this influence well, I know it influences some grapes, but I don't know if they have it. I see some vineyards in the background there, but
Right. I don't know if they have enough or
to
if that's
influence.
just, yeah.
Okay.
Though I do know that in some areas of Napa Valley, they have enough
Right.
that it actually does come across in the wine. So the Owen Roe Winery was established in 1999, which at this point is a long time ago. It's
It
sad
is.
to say.
Mhm.
By David and Angelica O'Reilly, right? Named after the Irish patriot Owen Roe O'Neill.
Okay.
He fought for political equality and freedom.
Well, that's awesome.
Organic and sustainable. They don't they don't necessarily grow a lot of their own grapes, but they grow some, you can see that, but they actually buy a lot of them.
Mhm.
But they completely control how the acreage is used that they
Okay.
have under contract. So it's all organic and sustainable. Yakima Cab is a cuvee of the Yakima Valley. I already
Mhm.
mentioned that. And that they're in control. The winemaker is David O'Reilly. So we're dealing with a lot of my people.
Yeah.
Yes, right? So
If you don't know, we did 23andMe, just so,
Mhm.
because Jeff is referencing that he is what, 92%
92%
Irish.
Irish, yes.
So
Yeah, so
he thought he was more French than he is. It's just the name.
yeah, it's almost only the name. I mean, it's I'm 7+% French, even though
Yes.
a Vaudreuil.
Yeah.
But so anyway, David and Angelica O'Reilly, the winemaker is Jerry Owen.
Okay.
Yeah, so
You just
They're-
keep
they're
wanting
keeping
to
it.
throw in that
I'm
accent
just,
a little bit.
I want to, and I'm holding back,
I can feel it.
right? I'm not good about holding back. But I
Nope.
am,
This is a gorgeous shot too.
right? And we have a video.
Okay. Oh, wait. So Jen and Jason, one of them, did 23andMe too. Don't know that I got anything different. Native American. Think you should do, okay, wait. No, I got very different though. Mine is nothing like his. So I think
Yeah.
23.
Yeah, like
We
no,
still
she
didn't
was-
trust it. But I think it's still a big lie. I think Jeff and I got bogus results.
Yeah, I did expect to be at least 25 to 30% French.
Yeah. But you and I don't overlap a lot.
We
though.
do not.
No. Okay, so we have a video here.
Yes,
All right.
there they are. You can see the barrels out there and
Yep.
everything.
Well, hold on. Before I push play, I'll look at the chat. Okay, Linda wants to do that one day. You should. It was fun.
Yeah.
You can just look at mine. It's probably the same as mine.
So I love this because it does show that like we're not dealing with some mega corporation here or
Right.
anything, which
Yeah.
I'm okay. It doesn't mean that there's not good wine coming from some of those big guys, but it just makes me even happier when it's a smaller group.
Owen Roe is located in the Yakima Valley AVA, one of Washington State's premier wine growing regions. The winery was founded in 1999 by winemaker David O'Reilly and his wife Angelica. David O'Reilly immigrated from Ireland, and the artful labels and creative storytelling pay tribute to his Irish heritage. Owen Roe Winery is surrounded by the 120-acre Union Gap Vineyard, the source for its estate bottled wines. The portfolio expands to include terroir-driven Pacific Northwest wines, sourced from 12 superior vineyard sites throughout Yakima Valley and the Willamette Valley in Oregon. Owen Roe produces wines under the Owen Roe label and the second labels,
Yeah.
Growers Guild and Corvidae, focusing on the expression each vineyard brings to the wines and the art of blending. All the fruit that goes into Owen Roe wines are hand harvested, handled with minimal processing, small lot fermented, and aged in French oak barrels. Guests to the winery are drawn by the authentic, unpretentious atmosphere and the award-winning quality of the wines, recognized by the world's top wine critics. Many leave as loyal wine club members and customers for life.
You can see that place is a desert. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like every time it gets away from the actual wine, you're like, and just chaparral or whatever.
Yeah.
Just basically dead grass everywhere else.
Everywhere else. Yep.
Right. So yeah, that is, I mean, I think it speaks very clearly. It's like, yeah, it's a cool desert.
Yeah. A really neat vineyard to go visit.
Oh, I'd
It
love to
looks
go.
like, yeah.
Absolutely.
You'd probably go there and like meet the winemaker and
It just
you know,
feels like it, right?
It feels, yeah.
Yeah. So what, and like I said, we're talking about even this guy, 35 barrels?
So Jeff and I we were commenting during it because I said Sinister Hand, we have that.
Mhm.
And you said Abbey Table, what is it?
Abbott's Table.
Abbott's
That was
Table.
the red blend that kind of won the tasting
Oh, yeah.
when we had
okay,
it,
Right.
when we did the
right,
Owen Roe
right,
tasting.
Right.
Mhm.
That's right. So of the bottles that they showed, this is our third one then. That we
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Would you like me to advance?
Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna try here. It's gonna want to start again. So there we go.
there we go. All right, so this guy, 92 points. They listed it as an outstanding wine of superior character and style. You may think it is a classic wine. Amazing. Or you can think it's a very good wine, and there's nothing wrong with anything in this world being a very good wine with special qualities. So, you know how I always harp on that. It's like there's nothing wrong with an 89 or an 88. That's a damn good wine. And
Mhm.
people act like they failed in some way. And I want that to be dispelled if I can help at all. Look at that.
Okay, wait, hold on. Should you want me to stop the share?
Yeah, I was just reading John Tucker's thing.
Right, that's what I was going to say too. So we have,
Or if it was John, I'm not
I'm
sure.
not sure if it was John or not. So one of them
Okay.
said the place is a desert, agreeing with you.
Okay.
Grew up about 100 miles away and there was no wine back then, only apples and cherries.
Oh, right. It's
Yeah.
amazing they can grow anything.
Right? Yeah.
Crazy.
And then we do have some scores coming in. Oh, and then Linda has a question too. So let's do that before we do
Okay.
the scores. You guys can go ahead and put in your scores and we'll talk about the question, then we'll come back to the scores.
All right. So another silly question. So I was just curious do most wineries have like an alert system if something is off? You know,
Oh.
so whether there's a temperature control problem or something like that. I was just curious.
Well, it's going to depend on the winery. Most of them would, absolutely. And then the other thing is when it comes down to the barrel tasting, like that is not unusual in, you know, the smaller productions where they come and they taste each barrel and they make decisions about what's happening. I mean, because they may, you know, once in a while you may have one where I'm sure they get infections in some of these barrels.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, this one is a complete throwaway.
Mhm.
You know, but and this one's exceptional, this one's just mediocre, make that a blending grape, that kind of a thing.
Is there anything, because you mentioned infections, is there anything that has come out of an infection? Because I know in beer,
Mhm.
that's how sours originated.
Right.
It was a flaw, it was an infection, and now it's a whole style of beers that
Right.
it's my favorite style. So anything with wine that's come of that?
No, I can't think of any
No.
like infected sound. Well, I mean, there are some very farmhousey things going on in Burgundy.
Okay,
You know, I'm thinking there may be some native yeast things going on that include some bacterium.
okay.
So I would say usually no, not as often as in beer, right?
Mhm.
But I think it does a little bit.
Okay.
You get a little Brettanomyces sometime.
Okay.
Now the thing is with the beer guys is most likely the old classic beer houses dealing with sours would say, oh, there wasn't a flaw, there wasn't an infection. That's what we were doing, right? So
We meant to do that.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, okay. You know, I get it because it started so long ago, they didn't understand yeast versus bacteria
Sure,
and all those kinds
sure.
of things. So,
Okay.
but nowadays, when you take Brettanomyces and you pitch it into there to make it sour,
Mhm.
all right, yes, it's on purpose, but it's not the traditional yeast
Well, and they have to
fermentation.
keep it very separate from the rest
Oh,
of,
dear Lord.
because it'll ruin all your other beer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Brettanomyces, it'll
I love
affect
that
your
it's
whole
called
place.
bread something since it's like.
Brett, actually, I'm
Oh,
just saying.
Brett,
Yeah.
it sounds like bread.
Yeah.
It's like,
Since
it's a
beer is
yeast
lit.
infection,
Yeah.
so. All right, chat, let's see. Oh, and I put this back up in case you guys need it. I saw there was a request for it.
Okay.
So, let's see. Julie 93, Brian 92.
Nice.
Wow.
Love it.
Paul Foxafort 91.
Yeah, that's right. Fox a Fort. No, it's Roca Fox. Knock it off.
And then let's see, we've got 90, 90, 90. They all agree. Linda,
Nice.
Brendan,
All right.
Okay, so Jen and Jason,
Fair enough.
not big
You know what?
fans.
That's right.
Good, solid 80, 84.
Mm.
And then Linda would say a 91 as well. And then they're newlyweds, so, you know,
That's right.
almost. Okay, newly engaged, so they have to like claim their love all the time. And, you know.
Not yet, but yes.
That's right.
And usually we disagree on wine, you know, so I was like, oh my God, it's the same score.
Yeah, no, that's good. I
Yeah.
was surprised you guys were the exact same, and that Julie and Brian were as close. I mean, you're just 1% off. That's shocking.
It's a sign, Linda, you should get married.
Yeah, you guys should probably get married soon.
That's right.
We're doing it.
That's right. All right. So I really like this wine as it warmed up a little bit more. It gave it even more body to me, you know,
Yeah.
than early on. So it kind of darkened that fruit, gave me a little bit more, which I wanted. This guy is very much a cab that I'm thinking, you know, the way I feel, like food driven cab,
Yeah.
you know, much better
So try it
with
again
food
with
to pair it
food.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jen and Jason, you might want to revisit with food. Though.
Yeah. Like if you had
You
this
might like it
with,
better.
and I don't know if you guys eat meat, but if you had it with filet mignon, I think you'd get a very different experience on there.
Sure.
Because those acids are going to combine with the meat and keep it really fresh and on your palate and not
We
overwhelming.
had it with pepperoni, believe it or not, and it was actually pretty good. We tried chocolate, not so much, but the pepperoni was a good hit. And
Oh.
unfortunately, we ate steak too far in advance. But I would agree with you. I think that it did smooth it out quite a bit.
Okay.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there really are some wines that are that way. And I totally get it. You know, well, we were talking about that with Chianti, right?
Mhm.
Where I kept saying, man, do I want food with this? You know,
Right,
because
right.
it will take it and boom it up to several notches,
Mhm.
you know, but
So for me too, I like that you mentioned warming up because it was an 89 for me when it's cold.
right.
With it warm, I'm up to 92.
Right.
And you know, as you guys know, those 3 degrees are kind of a big difference in
Yeah.
wine. So yeah, for me it was, I mean, I liked it, but I was like, yeah.
No, I agree. I'm taking it down to cellar
89
temperature.
with cellar temperature, but 92, I'm liking it more and more now. Although
Yeah.
I said that, and this was a big glass of wine that I've had all of
That is
it.
true.
Yeah.
Ready for more?
Just a
Hey,
little.
Liz.
Haven't eaten yet.
Hey, Liz.
Yes.
So Jen had a question, and honestly, I did too. Like, we're not used to chilling the reds.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that you talk about the difference between chilled and warmed up. But like, do you normally chill your reds?
Just down to 60 degrees,
Mhm.
which is European cellar temperature.
Yeah.
So not chilled, but just bringing it down to around 60 degrees. Which is that whole thing, like European cellar temperatures are 55 to 60 degrees. And that is kind of where, if you look at it, because it's called the old world wine style, because they did it first, right?
Okay.
And so because of that history, I like to give it the chance to see what it would be like with that in effect. But it doesn't mean it's my favorite moment in the wine.
Yeah.
And I
What
always
about
know,
like
if I
a
start at 60.
Florida petri dish, warm swamp kind of temperature? What's it then?
That's right.
Exactly.
You get it up to 88 degrees, then I'm not feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Let's keep it in the 70s if
Isn't that
at all possible.
Isn't that what you were saying? It got better as it got warmer for you, right?
For me, yes, it got better as it got warmer. But he's right. Like with reds, you're supposed to start about 60 degrees with European cellar. So you throw it in for 30 minutes. He very much likes tasting the evolution.
Right.
I mean, for me, I normally like them warmer, but this one was a distinct difference for me.
Right. And see, to me, that journey is fun.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to taste it along the way because I know I'm going to get up to the warmth, because by the time I get to the, you know, halfway through the glass, it's going to
Yeah.
be 70 something degrees.
Right,
It's going to warm up to the room.
right.
So I like to know, all right, here's where it started. And almost always,
Mhm.
I'm happy it warmed up into the 70s.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, and Paul said it's a great question because like most liquor stores or wine stores will tell you to chill white and let
Right.
red. Yeah. So the thing is, I think it is very much a European thing to have it chilled down to that cellar temperature. And I think Americans are more used to just room temperature
Right.
reds.
And that's not wrong. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But I just like to do it that way.
Right.
That's- yeah.
So you do not have to do it the same way that Jeff does it. If you know that it's like You prefer it warm? Just have it warm.
Yeah, just have it that way. No,
Right,
that's fine.
Right. He's just gonna always say, start at 60.
Yeah, I'm always going to
and-
say, because that's kind of the sommelier way, which is to reach back to those origins of European
Right.
cellars and that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's not going to hurt anything to do it that way, but you don't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to,
And it's-
just don't stick it out in the Florida sun and.
Yeah, right. Just don't
And
drink
then
it.
try and drink it at 95 degrees.
Yeah, I will say that. Don't do that.
And Paul has a question.
Yeah, I was gonna a little bit add to that the I know that the global warming thing isn't happening overnight, but the cellar temperature will also depend on where you are. So
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're in Florida, it will not be existent. So.
right. So what we determine as what's that perfect temperature for the wine will that could vary, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like you say, Floridian cellar temperature would be 72 degrees when the spring water rushes in.
Yeah. And it would definitely be
It's
in
the
water
aquifer.
regardless. So, but yeah, he's right. So European cellars are going to heat up. I wonder if they're going to then decide to, I mean, they're not going to heat up overnight, like you said.
Right.
But if they're just going to decide, oh, this is where we should have always been drinking, this is what we meant after
Right.
all, or if they'll,
I don't know. I'll
Cool
tell
it
you,
somehow.
The people that I worry more for are the rural cheesemakers,
Mm,
because wine will be okay, right? Whether you're at 55 degrees in the cellar or you're at 68 degrees in the cellar,
Mhm.
wine will be fine,
sure.
right? It'll make it through. It may age a little faster, but cheese needs a little more coolness.
Right.
And
right.
a lot of them in the rural areas in old Europe
Mhm.
are still made without external, like not without mechanical cooling.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that could be, anyway, but that's a whole separate subject. Anyway,
I didn't know you were a cheese expert too.
I looked at it. I thought about making my own cheese.
Oh, did you?
I did. No, I'm serious.
Okay.
I decided it was too much work.
Well, I agree. Would you like for me to advance?
Yes. So next week.
Oh, is next week next? Okay.
Oh, wait, no, our sources are next.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much to our sources for tonight. Wine Folly, 750, Wikipedia, Owen Roe Winery, liquor.com. That was the cool
The
global
graphic.
warming graphic. And the Shaw Winery, which I mentioned at the time, was that gorgeous picture of Yakima Valley.
Paul, did you raise your hand again or did I just, okay. And I don't mean like again.
Oh my God, Paul.
I wasn't sure if it was a new raised hand that I was seeing or.
It's kind of funny because now that we've become so friendly on here, I'm that guy that asks a lot of questions. So I've got 2 questions that are really 7 questions. There are 7 questions that could be really 2 questions. But I don't want to save it for the end because then they're not on the recording. So I've got a question about the temperature change on the grape. And then I have a question about the different grape varietals. Was it purposeful or was it natural on that that graphic that you showed with the different grape varietals?
Oh, when they crossbred?
Yeah, when they was that a purposeful thing or was it a natural thing? And
Right,
some of
that-
it's kind of just nerdy, stupid stuff that I'm thinking.
Right. So on the purposeful versus natural, they are all written as purposeful.
Okay.
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 Even though I've seen,
Somebody
I meant to do that.
yeah, I have seen some articles that seem to suggest that the Cab Franc Sauv Blanc
Mhm.
crossover to create Cab Sauv was accidental.
Okay.
So yes.
So that was a happy accident.
Yeah, right. All right, what was
And
the
then
other
the
one?
other question was about the temperature swing. So you were talking early in the call. So the warm to cool. Is there a perfect temperature swing between the night and the day, the winter to the summer that they're kind of looking for?
Well, you know, it's interesting because no, but here's why. I'm going to go through some parameters for you, right? So it depends on what happens during the day with what you want to happen at night, right? So if you are dealing with, let's say Mendoza, right? We go to Mendoza, which as far as I can tell, is the most amazing wine growing area in the world. All right. So some people disagree, but that's fine. So here's the thing about Mendoza. So all day long, they're getting this intense sun and heat to ripen those grapes, but you don't want them to over ripen and leave all their acidity behind, because then it's just going to taste flabby and juicy and fruity, and you know, it won't have any nuance, right? So how do you leave it on the vine long, you know, for a while to get to fruition, but gain character? Well, that's because every evening they have an incredible temperature drop and they stop ferment, you know, they stop ripening.
So if the hotter you are during the day, the cooler you want it during the night,
Right.
so that it averages out. So if it's cooler during the day, it doesn't have to drop as much.
Exactly.
temperature.
So when you go to Austria, like
What's that, a 40-degree swing, 50-degree swing?
it's usually about, I've seen a lot of 30-degree swings around, let's say 30, because I've seen some 25s, I've seen some 40s. So let's call it a 30-degree swing, which is a pretty damn dramatic swing.
That's a dramatic temperature.
Now that's one way to do
I
it.
feel like I did that yesterday. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So the other way is, like, let's go with the Blaufränkisch, which by the way was a surprise hit around here. I don't know if you guys remember the Austrian Blaufränkisch. Now with those guys, it was all about not a lot of change during the growing season. So during the day they would warm up, but they can only warm up so much. It's Austria, right? It's pretty cool. And in order to get the ripeness that made us happy, they in the evenings they were down in this valley with a river, with a big lake. It kind of held in heat, so they didn't chill too much from the surrounding mountains. And that allowed them to continue to ripen. And I'm going to tell you, I've had several Blaufränkisch, and there's probably not a lot of us in this world that can say that, but well, certainly not in Gainesville, right?
Yeah.
So plenty in Austria. But I've had a lot of Blaufränkisch that was very uninteresting to me. It was just cranberry and pepper, because it was too cool.
Stayed too cool the whole time.
Right. Yeah. It just didn't reach a level of ripeness that made me happy as an American wine drinker. We're used to New World wines that are a little bit more ripe. So the Blaufränkisch that I brought us was a little warmer growth. It was two separate regions, a really warm region for them and a cooler region to get the peppery spicy. And anyway, so for that reason, so it depends on what's happening during the day with what you want to happen at night. It's all a balancing act. And it depends also on the grape. You know, different grapes want different things. So, you know, Malbec is going to want to get warmer and then cooler. You keep it on the vine. Same thing with Cab and Merlot. But Pinot Noir, no, you want to keep that guy cool. If you make it really, really warm, it's not going to taste like Pinot Noir anymore, not like you think it is.
There are a couple things in the chat box. So Jen and Jason said, I'm thinking it was Jason that said I was the source on Wiki. Yeah. And then Jeff, that's a great phrase. We agree. That just wasn't interesting enough for us. Yeah. There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So.
Well, wait. Paul, do you have any additional questions before?
No, after the call, I'll have a point of order later.
Well, okay, you can do a point of order, but you can't ask interesting questions that should be on the recording after the recording. You have to ask them all now.
Nope, it's a point of order. It's just for the call.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's see what we're doing next week.
So next week, we are going to drink a very new wine for us. All right.
Okay.
So we're going to a winery that we've enjoyed several times, a region that we've certainly enjoyed several times.
Okay.
Maybe listed as my new favorite, but a new product for them.
Okay.
And something that
for the whole region?
No, for this winemaker.
Okay.
All right. It's a new creation from this awesome winemaker that we've had a couple of times.
Okay.
And I think it will surprise you guys with how popular it ends up being.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Ready?
Let's go. We're going back to Mendoza. What? All right. So Mendoza, Argentina, a new white blend from Catena.
Oh.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So this guy's absolutely delicious. James Suckling 90. That's supposed to be saying 92.
James Suckling 9. No,
9.
she
Gave
wanted
it
to
a
drink
9.
that.
You guys wanted to taste one with a bad rating. This guy's got a 9. There was a 2 after that. 92. It's 90 comma. Anyway, and Robert Parker 92. So
so wait, Robert Parker 92 or
James Suckling 92, Robert Parker 90.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Okay.
So the white clay white blend, their white clay series comes from this amazing location. We'll talk about it next week. Obviously, I'm going to hold
Okay.
back. Food pairings: zucchini souffle stuffed with goat cheese and pancetta.
Sounds good.
Miso rainbow trout with kimchi.
Mhm. Which one of those are you going to make for us?
Well, if I can get the guys over at the Brown Bag to
Mhm.
make some more of that miso rainbow trout with kimchi,
Okay.
I will, because Jake brought me a sandwich last Friday.
Oh, okay. There you
It
go.
was amazing. That is literally something I ate
Mhm.
that I know would work. It was amazing.
Okay. There you go.
So anyway, I think you guys are going to be really happy. You know, it's
Mhm.
like when I bring the white wines once in a while, you say, "Oh my God, I would," you know. So
No, and I am even happier with it when I have a pairing with it.
yeah,
Because I think the pairings really, for me, especially with whites, it really brings out
Mhm.
like the flavors that you're talking about. So,
Okay.
and I like it better. So,
Okay.
so
Awesome. So we're heading over or back to Argentina
okay.
to taste a brand new to us. It just came into the market.
Mhm.
White blend, which by the way, we've never done a white blend.
No, I was shocked at that actually,
Yeah.
because after you said it, excuse me, I looked back up and I went, wait, white clay, a white blend. And
Mhm.
because I looked up to, after I was looking at the pairings thinking, it's Chardonnay again. Oh no, it's white blend. Okay,
Yep.
so let's see.
Yes.
I have liked the Chardonnays that you've picked because I think you try to veer away from ones that I'm just gonna like lean over and spit into the sink.
Well, I mean, not purposefully, but I'm sure there's a subconscious part of me is like, I don't want to have a wine where my wife is doing this, where she's sipping, going,
I'm like,
yeah,
it's good. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, no.
I would totally drink
Poor
this.
Chardonnay gets a bad rap.
No.
You guys all like the
the
Chablis.
ones that you've had on here, I've been happy with. So, yep.
Yep.
Just,
I try.
yep. You just keep picking wines that make me happy.
That's it. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It sounded like basically overall,
Mhm.
a lot of enjoyment was had.
Yep.
And definitely appreciate the support from the distributor on this too, so that we could make this the wine of the week right now. You guys know what I'm talking about. So, all right, let's have a toast.
Cheers, everyone.
All right, here's to Owen Roe.